situation at Stellantis is, I think the technical term, a mess. You know, we have seen a real collapse of sales.
Stellantis is at a crossroads, and the fate of iconic brands like Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Chrysler hangs in the balance. Stellantis seems to be steering a ship headed towards rocky waters, leaving a trail of struggling brands in its wake. As sales plummet and inventory piles up, many are left wondering, are these brands on the brink of extinction? Can Stellantis pivot fast enough to save these brands from fading into uncertainty? Or will they become just another chapter in the history of automotive failures? The fall of giants. In recent months, the automotive landscape has been buzzing, and not in a good way. Stellantis has suddenly made headlines with drastic layoffs and brand closures that have sent waves of concern among enthusiasts and industry insiders alike. It's hard to believe that this powerhouse emerged merely from the merger of Fiat Chrysler and PSA Group, yet it now stands at a crucial crossroads, struggling with the weight of its decisions and the shifting sands of consumer preferences. At the heart of Stellantis' operations is a remarkable lineup of 14 brands, showcasing some of the most beloved names in automotive history. Who can forget the raw power of Dodge, the rugged dependability of Jeep, the hard-working spirit of Ram, or the classic elegance of Chrysler? These brands have woven themselves into the fabric of car culture, embodying not just vehicles, but lifestyles and legacies. So, what's gone wrong? Well, let me explain. The automotive apocalypse. With financial pressures mounting and consumer tastes evolving faster than ever, Stellantis' steadfast commitment to maintaining profitability has pushed it to implement some drastic measures. Sadly, these measures are threatening the very brands that have built their legacy. Carlos Tavares, the CEO of Stellantis, who's been steering this massive ship, has been nothing short of candid regarding the company's need for stringent financial discipline. He hasn't shied away from making tough calls. Tavares made it explicitly clear that any brand that fails to pull its weight in profits risks being shut down entirely. The reality check came after a rather alarming financial report for the first half of 2024. It laid bare the harsh truth: substantial losses across key players in the Stellantis portfolio, particularly Maserati and Jeep. Imagine being a die-hard Jeep enthusiast and witnessing your favorite brand's sales plummet by a staggering 48%. It's been a harsh reality, and when you consider that Dodge has seen a monumental 67% decline since its peak back in 2013, the urgency for transformative change is not just palpable, it's almost overwhelming. These numbers are not mere statistics. They're a reflection of shifting consumer priorities where the demand is veering towards electric and sustainable alternatives, leaving traditional brands scrambling to catch up. With consumers becoming ever more discerning, Stellantis faces a precarious challenge. The market is moving, preferences are evolving, and younger buyers are increasingly looking for eco-friendly options rather than classic muscle cars with roaring engines. Tesla and other electric vehicle manufacturers have mastered the art of attracting a new generation of drivers, leaving more traditional brands feeling the heat. But how did they end up here? A double-edged sword. Let's talk about a huge pivot that's shaking up the automotive world. Stellantis is making a bold move toward electric vehicle production as part of its long-term strategy. Sounds thrilling, right? We're stepping into a future that's greener, cleaner, and just a little more exciting. But before we break out the champagne, let's take a closer look at the challenges accompanying this transition. The stakes are high, and this isn't just a walk in the park for an automotive giant. Stellantis' CEO, Carlos Tavares, recently pointed out a critical reality for the company. Building electric vehicles costs around 40% more than manufacturing traditional gasoline-powered cars. Can you imagine the financial tightrope they're walking here? This added financial burden complicates efforts to keep the lights on at a profit while simultaneously meeting an increasing consumer demand for greener options. It's like trying to balance a hot cup of coffee while riding a unicycle. The plan to introduce new electric vehicle models is painted as an exciting opportunity to breathe fresh life into brands like Dodge and Jeep. However, amidst all the excitement, a cloud of skepticism looms over loyal customers who have grown accustomed to the iconic V8 engines that roar with power and heritage. These are the drivers who feel a special connection to the traditional muscle that those brands represent. The newer turbocharged engines may be efficient and forward-thinking, but can they really replace the throaty growl of a classic V8? This disconnect between Stellantis' corporate strategy and the expectations of its longtime fans raises some serious questions. Brand overlap and competition. Let's dive deeper into another significant hurdle facing Stellantis: brand overlap. Picture this: the company boasts an impressive array of brands, but here's the catch: they often target similar market segments. This leads to a whirlwind of internal competition that dilutes the unique identities of each brand. It's like trying to cook several dishes at once with the same ingredients. It could end up a confusing mishmash or a remarkable feast, depending on how you play your cards. Take Alfa Romeo and Maserati, for example. Both represent that luxurious, high-performance Italian flair. They're like two siblings vying for attention, each aiming to attract their own loyal fan base, yet they're trying to appeal to slightly different demographics. With both brands offering stylish vehicles that thrill the senses, it makes you wonder if Stellantis is simply muddying the waters instead of carving out distinct positions in a crowded marketplace. How can they create clear identities for each brand when the lines are so blurred? It's a challenge that could end up complicating their overall strategy and stifling growth if not addressed properly. Think about it. In today's fiercely competitive automotive environment, standing out is crucial. Consumers have endless choices, and if they can't distinctly recognize a brand's unique value proposition, they'll likely move on to a competitor that does. Stellantis needs a game plan to eliminate internal conflicts so that each brand can shine in its own right. The cost of quick wins. During the pandemic, Stellantis made a bold decision to ramp up production. The goal was simple: fill those dealership lots to the brim. At the time, everything seemed to be in their favor. The world was moving, and cars were flying off the lots faster than you could say test drive. But then, just like a dramatic plot twist in your favorite series, the demand shifted unexpectedly. And when it shifted, oh boy did it shift hard. Before they knew it, Stellantis found itself submerged in a staggering sea of unsold vehicles. As the automotive market continues to evolve, particularly in that highly competitive segment of midsize SUVs, Stellantis brands are finding their vehicles lingering on dealer lots for an alarming amount of time, far longer than the industry standard. Dealers are probably flipping through their calendars, scratching their heads and asking, why are our cars sitting here? Well, the Stellantis National Dealer Council has some clear thoughts on this thorny issue, and they're not holding back. They're ringing alarm bells, pointing fingers, and placing a hefty share of the blame right on the shoulders of CEO Carlos Tavares. Talk about a sticky situation. Now let me break it down for you. The Dealer Council has accused Tavares of having his sights set firmly on short-term financial wins rather than on nurturing sustainable long-term growth for the company. In a scathing letter, yes, you heard that right, sent on September 2024, they didn't mince words. They boldly called out Tavares' so-called short-term decision-making as a major culprit in the decline of both market share and dealer revenues. Ouch. According to the council, Tavares' strategies have indeed led to a boost in profits. Good for him, right? Well, not exactly. The council suggested that those profits primarily served to line Tavares' own pockets while doing real damage to the brand equity and overall standing of Stellantis in the market. They even went so far as to assert that the unsettling consequences of this short-sighted approach might already be manifesting before our very eyes. And isn't that a scary thought? The situation for Stellantis dealers is escalating into a full-blown crisis, leaving them feeling more isolated than ever. It's like being stranded on an island with no lifeboat in sight. They're grappling with these mounting challenges while simultaneously lacking the essential support they truly need from the manufacturer. This unsettling feeling of disconnection is palpable, and the Dealer Council isn't shy about expressing their frustrations. They've called out Stellantis' recent decisions, like cutting back on marketing budgets and altering compensation policies, which have hit dealer profitability like a ton of bricks. So what's the impact of all these decisions? The result is a worrying trend. Many dealers find themselves drowning in a mountain of unsold vehicles. The financial strain isn't confined to individual dealerships. It's seeping through the entire dealer network, creating a ripple effect of anxiety and uncertainty. Just when it seemed like things were as dicey as they could get, the looming threat of layoffs and plant closures adds another layer of dread surrounding the future stability of Stellantis' North American operations. Amid this turmoil, the dealers are left wondering what the future holds. They are eager for support from the manufacturer, but are met instead with budget cuts, leaving them feeling helpless as they watch their inventories grow unwieldy. Imagine walking into a dealership and seeing rows upon rows of vehicles, each one just waiting for a buyer who, statistically speaking, might never come. It's more than disheartening. It's financially devastating for those who have invested their livelihoods in these dealerships. Moreover, the interaction between Stellantis and its dealers seems to be strained at best. best. The disconnect reverberates through every decision-making process. Dealers feel alienated, and when the manufacturer does not consider their input, it creates an environment ripe for frustration. Successful automotive brands know the importance of maintaining strong, collaborative relationships with their dealers. They understand that shared success is the foundation upon which their businesses thrive. But that's not all. Stellantis is making headlines for a serious decision. They're laying off workers at their Sterling Heights assembly plant in Michigan, and it's raising quite a stir. These layoffs, which are set to kick in on October 1st, 2024, will affect 177 seasonal supplemental employees and 14 full-time union workers. Why is this happening, you ask? Well, the demand for older models is on the decline, and Stellantis is undergoing a strategic shift in its production priorities. The Warren plant, once bustling with activity churning out the classic Ram 1500, is now transitioning to focus on a new version of the vehicle. Unfortunately, this shift has led to the elimination of one entire shift at the factory, which means up to 2,450 workers, out of a total workforce of about 3,700, now face the daunting prospect of losing their jobs. It's all happening during a period where job security feels more like a distant dream than a reality. As if the cuts at Warren plant weren't enough, Stellantis is also implementing indefinite layoffs at various facilities, including another 191 workers at the Sterling Heights assembly plant. These drastic measures are a direct response to the harsh realities of the current automotive market, which is experiencing its own set of turmoil. The company recently reported a staggering 50% drop in profits earlier this year, coupled with nearly a 16% decline in US sales during the first half of 2024. Stellantis cites intense external market conditions as the main driver behind these layoffs and closures, calling attention to the need for operational adjustments to bolster efficiency. However, for the employees caught in the crossfire, those statements may sound like just another corporate mantra, and the layoffs don't stop at just full-time employees. Stellantis has also terminated seasonal supplemental workers who were brought on board to support production during peak vacation periods. This decision aligns with the company's urgent strategy to streamline its operations and cut costs in light of surging inventory levels. About 400,000 vehicles, which is reportedly the highest in the industry. Imagine that, nearly 500,000 vehicles sitting around waiting for buyers while hardworking employees are losing their jobs. The irony isn't lost here. It's a tale of excess and loss at the same time. Now let's take a step back and feel the gravity of what these layoffs mean for the workforce. The emotional and economic impact on employees is nothing short of profound. For those who have spent years, if not decades, laboring for Stellantis, this sudden shift brings forth uncertainty and fear regarding their livelihoods. It's a gut punch feeling, not just a fear of unemployment, but also feelings of betrayal and anxiety as they grapple with the reality of sudden job loss or looming layoffs. The United Auto Workers Union has expressed its outrage, labeling these layoffs as an unnecessary blow to loyal workers who have substantially contributed to the company's success throughout the years. Union's response. From an economic perspective, the laid-off workers now face immediate financial hurdles that can be daunting. Many of these employees are the primary breadwinners for their families, relying on their steady wages to meet everyday expenses and to keep their households running. When such income is ripped away unexpectedly, it leads to a domino effect of severe financial strain. The United Auto Workers has been vocal about how these decisions disregard the sacrifices employees have made in the past during tough times, including wage concessions and compromises during contract negotiations. It's not just business, it's people's lives we're talking about. Now, let's shift gears and examine the union response. The United Auto Workers has been quick to voice their condemnation of Stellantis' recent actions. Union leadership has taken a firm stand, criticizing the automaker for what they believe is a blatant lack of respect for its workforce. United Auto Workers Local 1700 did not hold back, describing the layoffs as another slap in the face. That's a strong statement, particularly when many workers who were let go had done nothing wrong. It's a sentiment shared by those who feel they are being punished for circumstances beyond their control. United Auto Workers President Shawn Fain has been especially vocal about his disappointment in Stellantis' management. He argues the company is failing to honor commitments made in last year's labor agreement, which included assurances related to job security and plant operations. The frustration is palpable, leading the union to file unfair labor charges against Stellantis Stellantis. They claim that the automaker is in violation of contract stipulations by neglecting its promises to reopen closed plants and keep production within the United States. The stakes are high, and the union is determined to fight for its members' rights. Furthermore, the United Auto Workers' push for transparency underscores a deeper concern about how Stellantis makes crucial decisions. Union leaders are calling for clearer communication regarding operational changes and their implications for workers' futures. They argue that transparency is not just a nice to have, it is essential for rebuilding trust between management and employees, especially during such turbulent times. The message is clear. Open lines of communication can help mitigate feelings of confusion and uncertainty among the workforce. Now you're probably thinking, how can a struggling company turn things around without the workforce it needs? And what does this mean for the brands that fall under the Stellantis umbrella? Let's break down some of the brands that are facing challenges because of Stellantis. Chrysler. Chrysler is in a tailspin, and let's be real, it's not pretty. The company is facing a steep decline, and the root cause is painfully clear: an incredibly limited vehicle lineup. This isn't just a minor hiccup, it's a full-blown crisis that has them struggling to keep pace in today's fast-moving automotive landscape. Can you wrap your head around the fact that Chrysler is operating with just 2 models? I'm talking about the Chrysler 300 sedan and the Pacifica minivan. That's it. This drastic cutback raises massive red flags about Chrysler's future in an industry that relentlessly evolves and changes. Let's take a closer look at that woefully limited vehicle lineup. Alarm bells should be ringing. Chrysler's current selection is alarmingly sparse, featuring only the Chrysler 300 and the Pacifica. This lack of options doesn't just limit consumer choice, it hands Chrysler a serious disadvantage at a time when competitors are showcasing an impressive array of vehicles. The automotive world has undergone a seismic shift, and today SUVs and crossovers rule the roost. Meanwhile, traditional sedans like the Chrysler 300 find it increasingly difficult to leave an impression amid fierce competition. Sure, the Pacifica boasts family-friendly features and solid design, but let's not kid ourselves. Its sales figures simply aren't strong enough to keep the whole brand afloat. Now, let's dive into the pricing conundrum, which is stirring up a storm among potential buyers. The remaining models in Chrysler's lineup, well, they're starting to feel a bit overpriced, especially when you stack them up against their rivals. Take the Pacifica as a prime example. It's celebrated for its family-centric amenities, but guess what? Many buyers are turning their attention to competitors like the Honda Odyssey and Toyota Sienna, both of which are often seen as more affordable alternatives. This lofty pricing strategy is creating a substantial barrier for Chrysler, making it incredibly tough to capture the interest of savvy consumers who have a plethora of enticing choices available at friendlier price points. Jeep. Remember when Jeep was the undisputed champion of adventure? The quintessential choice for thrill seekers eager to conquer mountains or roam through vast deserts. Those glory days are slipping away faster than tire tracks fading from the sun-baked sand. In fact, Jeep's sales have plummeted. Think a nosedive that rivals the steepest cliff. The numbers reveal a shocking 12% drop in just a single year. This isn't just a minor hiccup, it's a full-blown belly flop. Let's visualize the scene at a Jeep dealership for a moment. Instead of the vibrant buzz of excited customers kicking tires and taking test drives, what do we see? Rows and rows of shiny new Jeeps just languishing in silence, collecting dust like relics in a museum. It's as if dealer lots have transformed into Jeep exhibitions rather than dynamic showrooms filled with eager buyers. And oh boy, the dealers are fuming. Their frustration goes beyond casual complaints. They're practically shouting from the rooftops about how Stellantis has completely dropped the ball on this one. Speaking of Stellantis, the financial outlook for the conglomerate is looking murkier than a muddy swamp. They've hacked their profit forecast down in record time. Quicker than you can say check engine light. We're talking about a drastic shift from ambitious double-digit projections to a paltry margin of only 5.5 to 7%. Ouch! But wait, there's worse to come. They're bracing for a potentially catastrophic cash flow nosedive, with projections suggesting a jaw-dropping negative $11.14 billion. Yes, that's billion with a capital B. To make matters even worse, Jeep is tangled up in a recall crisis hotter than a scorching summer day in Death Valley. A staggering 194,000 plug-in hybrids are at risk for battery fires. Talk about torching a brand's reputation, and it gets even hotter. Dealers are not just feeling anxious? They are overwhelmed. Their lots are filled to the brim with unsold Jeeps, so full that they could well transform them into off-road parks. It's a sight to behold, a sad spectacle really. They're not holding back their criticism of Stellantis' leadership either. It's reminiscent of a family feud playing out in a very public forum, messy and not at all pleasing to witness. Ram. The Ram 1500 Classic has officially been cut from the lineup, and let me tell you, this is not just a minor adjustment, it's a seismic shift in the truck world. This vehicle has been the reliable go-to for budget-minded shoppers looking for a solid pickup without the hefty price tag. With the Classic no longer available, potential buyers are now staring down the steep starting price for the brand new 2025 Ram 1500, which weighs in at a staggering $42,270. Just think about that, it's a jaw-dropping jump from the previous starting price of roughly $40,700 for the Classic. This leap leaves those who were once counting on a budget-friendly option high and dry, as there's no longer an entry-level truck that's gentle on the wallet. Now, let's explore what this shift means for affordability. The absence of the Ram 1500 Classic raises serious red flags regarding the overall pricing structure of the Ram lineup. The new inflated starting prices, combined with the unavailability of lower-cost alternatives, means that consumers who are working with tighter budgets are feeling the crunch like never before. They might soon start looking elsewhere, scouting competitor brands that may offer appealing entry-level trucks at a much better price point. This situation creates a domino effect. If the options for affordable vehicles are dwindling, it could very likely push potential customers away from Ram for good. Then there's the issue of rising prices across new models in the Ram collection. When you take a close look at the latest lineup, especially the 2025 Ram 1500, you'll see that these vehicles are jam-packed with high-tech features and enhancements designed to elevate both performance and comfort. One of the standout additions is the all-new Hurricane engine family. This impressive update boasts a twin-turbo inline-6 engine set to replace the traditional V8s. It promises not only better fuel efficiency, but also a notable boost in power. However, here's the catch. Along with all this innovation comes a spike in prices across the board. You know how it goes. There's always a trade-off. Dodge. Let's talk about the Dodge Hornet, a compact SUV that's managing to garner about as much excitement as discovering a flat tire at a drag race. Can you picture it? 550 days worth of Hornets just languishing on dealer lots, looking forlorn and dusty. This isn't merely collecting dust, it's practically fossilizing under the harsh light of day. What's the reason for this unfortunate state? Well, the compact SUV market is more crowded than a rush hour freeway, and the Hornet simply cannot keep pace with the competition that's out there moving at lightning speed. Now, let's get into the numbers, shall we? In a span of just 45 days, Dodge managed to sell a mere 1,283 units of the Hornet. To put it plainly, that's like trying to empty the ocean with a teaspoon. Futile and frustrating. Dealerships are left with a stockpile of cars that they're at a loss to sell, and it's costing them handsomely. Imagine having to pay the rent for a house guest who shows no signs of leaving. That's precisely what these unsold vehicles are doing to unsuspecting dealerships. Dodge is enthusiastically hopping onto the electric bandwagon, replacing their beloved muscle cars with newly electrified versions. They're swapping out fan favorites like the Charger and Challenger for modern electric alternatives. It's akin to trading in your beloved barbecue grill for a salad bar. Certain crowds might embrace it, but others are left feeling utterly starved for the real horsepower that made Dodge famous. What do you think about Stellantis' recent decisions? Are these brands doomed to fail, or can they overcome these challenges and reclaim their former glory? Let me know in the comment below.